filled with membranes and extra dimensions, there's a whole new way to look at the problem.
One way of approaching the question of why gravity is so weak compared to all the other forces is to turn the question completely on its head and say, no, actually gravity isn't very weak compared to all the other forces. It just appears to be weak.
It may be that gravity is actually just as strong as electromagnetism, but for some reason, we can't feel its strength.
Consider a pool table, a very large pool table. Think of the surface of the pool table as representing our three-dimensional universe, although it is just two-dimensional. And think of the billiard balls as representing atoms and other particles that the universe is made out of.
So here's the wild idea. The atoms and particles that make up stuff in the world around us will stay on our particular membrane, our slice of the universe, just as the billiard balls will stay on the surface of the pool table. Unless you're a really bad pool player. But whenever the balls collide, there is something that always seeps off the table. Sound waves. That's why I can hear the collision. Now, the idea is that gravity might be like the sound waves. It might not be confined to our membrane. It might be able to seep off our part of the universe. Or think about it another way. Instead of pool tables, let's go back to bread. Imagine that our universe is like this slice of toast, and that you and me and all of matter, light itself, everything we see, is like jelly. Now, jelly can move freely on the surface of the toast, but otherwise it's stuck. It can't leave the surface itself. But what if gravity were different? What if gravity were more like cinnamon and sugar? Now, this stuff isn't sticky at all, so it easily slides right off the surface. But why would gravity be so different from everything else that we know of in the universe? Well, it turns out that string theory, or M theory, provides an answer. It all has to do with shape. For years, we concentrated on strings that were closed loops, like rubber bands. But after M theory, we turned our attention to other kinds. Now we think that everything we see around us, like matter and light, is made of open-ended strings. And the ends of each string are tied down to our three-dimensional membrane. But closed loops of string do exist. And one kind is responsible for gravity. It's called a graviton. With closed loops, there are no loose ends to tie down, so gravitons are free to escape into the other dimensions, diluting the strength of gravity and making it seem weaker than the other forces of nature. This suggests an intriguing possibility. If we do live on a membrane, and there are parallel universes on other membranes near us, we may never see them. But perhaps we could one day feel them through gravity.
If there happens to be intelligent life on one of the membranes, then this intelligent life might be very close to us. So theoretically, and purely theoretically, we might be able to communicate with this intelligent life by exchanging strong gravity wave sources.
So, who knows? Maybe someday we'll develop the technology and use gravity waves to actually communicate with other worlds. Yeah, hey, it's Brian. How you doing?
Brian, what Jerry Wolf Lava Java Simpsons?
We don't really know if parallel universes could have a real impact on us. But there is one very controversial idea which said they've already played a major role. In fact, it gives them credit for our existence. As the classic story goes, the vast universe we see today was once extremely small, unimaginably small. Then, suddenly, it got bigger. A lot bigger during the dramatic event known as the Big Bang. The Big Bang stretched the fabric of space and set off the chain of events that brought us to the universe we know and love today. But there's always been a couple of problems with the Big Bang theory. First, when you squeeze the entire universe into an infinitesimally small but stupendously dense package, at a certain point, our laws of physics simply break down. They just don't make sense anymore.
The formulas we use start giving answers that are nonsensical. We find total disaster. Everything breaks down, and we're stuck.
And on top of this, there's the bang itself. What exactly is that?
That's actually a problem. The classic form of the Big Bang theory really says nothing about what banged, what happened before it banged, or what caused it to bang.
Refinements to the Big Bang theory do suggest explanations for the bang, but none of them turn the clock back completely to the moment when everything started.
Most people come at this with the naive notion that there was a beginning, that somehow space and time emerged from nothingness into somethingness.
Well, I don't know about you, but I don't like nothing. Do I really believe that the universe was a big bang out of nothing? And I'm not a philosopher, so I won't say, but I can imagine to a philosopher that is a problem. But to a physicist, I think it's also a problem.
Everyone admits there are problems. The question is, can string theory solve them? Some string theorists have suggested that the Big Bang wasn't the beginning at all, that the universe could have existed long before, even forever. Not everyone is comfortable with the idea.
I actually find it rather unattractive to think about a universe without a beginning. It seems to me that a universe without a beginning is also a universe without an explanation.
So what is the explanation? What if string theory is right, and we're all living on a giant membrane inside a higher dimensional space?
One of the ideas in string theory that was particularly striking to me and suggested perhaps a new direction for cosmology is the idea of brains and the idea of brains moving in extra dimensions.
Some scientists have proposed that the answer to the Big Bang riddle lies in the movements of these giant brains.
It's so simple. Here's a brain on which we live, and here's another brain floating in the higher dimension. There's absolutely nothing difficult about imagining that these collide with each other.
According to this idea, sometime before the Big Bang, two brains carrying parallel universes began drifting toward each other. Until
all of that energy has to go somewhere. Where does it go? It goes into the Big Bang. It creates the expansion that we see, and it heats up all the particles in the universe in this big fiery mass.
As if this weren't weird enough, the proponents of this idea make another radical claim. The Big Bang was not a special event. They say that parallel universes could have collided not just once in the past, but again and again. And that it will happen in the future. If this view is right, there's a brain out there right now headed on a collision course with our universe.